New video about Planned Parenthood's trade in fetal body parts. This is SkyWatchTV News, Thursday, July 30th, 2015. I'm Derek Gilbert. This new video, the third released by the Center for Medical Progress, features a woman who describes how she was hired as a phlebotomist, that's someone who draws blood for clinical testing, and how she fainted her first day on the job because she was tasked with sorting through the remains of aborted fetuses, looking for salvageable parts, organs that could be resold. Senate Republicans currently drafting a bill to strip federal funding from Planned Parenthood, which receives about $500 million a year in taxpayer funds. Now, mainstream media, when it reports on this story at all, usually goes out of its way to point out that the video posted by Center for Medical Progress is heavily edited. It's heavily edited in the same way that raw footage filmed by network news crews is heavily edited before it goes to air. Center for Medical Progress has posted the unedited raw video at its website so people can confirm that these clips are taken in context. Wesley J. Smith, who publishes the excellent Human Exceptionalism blog at National Review Online, is really a must-read, argues that we need to make a better case for the value of human life. He's got a point. As Christians, we accept the argument that we have intrinsic value. Human life is intrinsically sacred, because we are created in the image of God. We are his imagers on earth, his moral agents. But for non-believers, that argument's a non-starter. They either reject the authority of God or they don't believe he exists at all. And Wesley points out that the religious argument isn't necessary to establish that human life is exceptional. No other species on earth has created art, built societies, recorded history, or controlled nature, at least in part. Gives another example. A sow, female pig, that allows the runt of its litter to die is just doing what animals do. A human mother that allows her child to die through neglect is prosecuted. Although there are some bioethicists who argue that humans should have the right to terminate their children up to the age of 2, the age of self-awareness. Wesley's conclusion: morality depends on how we answer this important question. Does human life have equal and incalculable value, moral value, simply because and merely because it is human? If we answer that question yes, we have a chance at achieving a humane, free, and prosperous society. If we answer that question no, then we're simply another animal living in the forest, and we will behave as such. Sadly, however, I think based on the videos recorded and released by the Centers for Medical Progress, one could also make the case that humans are exceptional because we alone among the species on planet Earth profit from the slaughter of our children. This utilitarian view of human life is not uncommon in the transhumanist movement. Please understand, I'm not arguing that transhumanists necessarily support or condone what Planned Parenthood does. But there is a strong belief among many in this movement that life only has value if it's useful, productive, or meets some minimum standard of quality of life. That's why leaders in the movement feel no qualms about trying to improve on God's design, and why some in the movement are calling for limits, restrictions on human breeding. Tom Horn is writing a series called Inhuman that he's publishing to SkyWatchTV.com in advance of the release of our first documentary film. SkyWatch TV and Defender Films producing Inhuman, the movie, a look at the transhumanist movement, its aims, its goals, challenges, and what it might mean for our culture, our society, if we redefine what it means to be human. Part 8 of the ongoing series, now available online at SkyWatchTV.com. You'll find the link in the left-hand sidebar at SkyWatchTV.com. Elsewhere in the news, we're told that the leader of the Taliban is dead, again. The one-eyed leader of the Taliban, Mullah Omar, reportedly died 2 years ago in Pakistan from a mysterious illness. The source of this report, intelligence and government sources in Afghanistan. The Taliban denies the report, says that Mullah Omar is alive and well. And we should note that Mullah Omar has been reported dead a number of times since we invaded Afghanistan in 2001. A question worth asking in the wake of this week's announcement by Turkey that it plans to establish an Islamic State-free zone in northern Syria. Has the United States sold out the Kurds? See, the government of President Tayyip Erdogan sees the threat posed by an independent Kurdistan as just as grave as the threat posed by the Islamic State. The Kurds have been agitating for independence for quite some time. Most of their territory sits in Turkey, although it also includes parts of Syria, Iraq, and Iran. Now, as part of the Safe Zone Agreement announced this week between Turkey and the U.S., American planes are allowed to use the Incirlik Air Base to launch attacks against the Islamic State. But at the same time, Turkey has begun airstrikes against Kurdish positions in northern Syria, northern Iraq, rather. So what are we actually accomplishing here? The Kurds are our allies in the fight against the Islamic State. And as I mentioned yesterday, so far, they've been the only military force in the Middle East that's been able to stand up to the Islamic State. What are we really accomplishing here? This is something to watch because this could develop into a wider regional conflict. But at least the United States is keeping Iran's secrets for them. Yesterday, testifying to the Senate Armed Forces Committee, Secretary of State John Kerry said that we, the people, are not entitled to know, should not know, the details of the secret side deals made between Iran and the International Atomic Energy Agency. As I mentioned a couple of weeks ago, the United States Senate is, according to the Constitution, supposed to ratify treaties with foreign nations by a 2/3 majority. Now, the Republicans, who control both the Senate and the House, have agreed to a 60-day review period of this nuclear deal, after which they will vote thumbs up or thumbs down. If they reject the deal, which Republicans say they will do, the president has already said he will veto their vote. And then to override the presidential veto, a 2/3 vote is required. What have the Republicans accomplished here? They have successfully lowered the bar for approving the Iranian nuclear deal from 2/3 of the Senate to 1/3. Now, regardless of what you think about the nuclear deal, and there are some good reasons to believe that it won't accomplish what we're being told it will accomplish, it's a lousy precedent. Future United States presidents can point to this agreement and say they require only the support of 1/3 of the United States senators to approve foreign treaties. In my view, we're just one step closer to handing our national sovereignty to an international agency, a one-world government. And as Christians, we understand that that has prophetic significance. We could be one step closer to solving a year-old mystery, the flight of MH370, Malaysian Airlines plane that disappeared last March on the way from Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia to Beijing, China. A piece of a Boeing 777 has been found on Reunion Island, which is off the coast of Madagascar, the southeast side of Africa. Now, this hasn't been positively identified as a piece of MH370, but we don't know of any other Boeing 777s that are missing. So if it is MH370, and French authorities are looking into this right now, analyzing the piece of the plane, it does answer what became of MH370, but not why it was so far off course. If it's not a piece of MH370, then it raises more uncomfortable questions like, where did it come from? Speaking of air travel, the new leader of the Transportation Security Administration says he's going to revamp security procedures at airports. Apparently, an internal test showed that 96% of undercover tests failed. In other words, 96% of the time when somebody testing security procedures tried to sneak through with a concealed weapon, they made it. This is what we got for $8+ trillion spent on security after 9/11. Not to mention hours of standing in line at the airport to take off our shoes. Speaking of 9/11, you remember the anthrax scare in the wake of 9/11. A couple of United States senators received anthrax powder in the mail. What's even scarier is that this week we learned that live anthrax has been sent to laboratories in all 50 United States and a number of foreign nations by the government lab that's supposed to protect us against this type of terrorism. The U.S. Department of Defense has admitted that the number of labs receiving live anthrax spores from the U.S. Army lab at Dugway, Utah, is much higher than we thought. 86 primary labs, 116 secondary labs, 21 personnel exposed. Labs include commercial companies, academic institutions, government facilities located in all 50 United States and 7 foreign nations. The samples were supposed to be used for training exercises, but they were supposed to be dead before they were shipped. You've heard of drive-by shootings. We may see something similar finally for something equivalent in the spirit realm, a fly-by exorcism. A priest in Italy conducted an exorcism of a seaside town by helicopter. The town of Castellammare di Stabia, which has seen some disturbing events recently, a number of churches robbed and defiled, graves desecrated, crosses turned upside down, statuary thrown off a cliff. Locals are praying that the ritual will turn things around for the town, which has had a rough time lately. High unemployment, businesses closing down. Although some people in the community believe that the problems are more due to the mafia than to the powers and principalities. The decline in morality, geopolitics around the world. Those were subjects covered by Terry James as he talked with Gary Stearman on SkyWatch TV Tuesday night. If you missed the program on the Christian Television Network, it's available now to watch on demand. You can see it on our official YouTube channel, the address right here on your screen. And of course, it's also posted at our Roku channel. Watch it on your big screen. On demand, if you have a Roku account, log on, search the channel store for SkyWatch TV and add us to your account and watch these programs and these daily updates on demand. Of course, you can also log on to skywatchtv.com/Roku for official instructions. We've also got an audio-only option. If you don't have the time to spend 10 minutes or 30 minutes sitting in front of a screen, you can carry us around and listen in your iPod, your smartphone, or other mobile device. Look for the link to the SkyWatch TV podcast in the top menu bar at skywatchtv.com. Comments, questions, suggestions are always welcome. Try to respond as quickly as I can to as many as I can. Please send those to dgilbert@skywatchtv.com. And thank you for watching as we keep watch. I'm Derek Gilbert, and this is SkyWatch TV.